Good afternoon, everybody. As was stated, I'm Greg Dworak. I'm the General Manager of Community Services. And the first thing I'd like to do is welcome you today and thank you for attending the workshop today. I hope you found it informative and that you'll be taking something back with you to wherever you're from, because I think Brownfields going forward will be something that'll be very, very important in the development industry as well as the growth of municipalities across Ontario and Canada. First thing I'd like to do is kind of let you know a little bit about myself. As I said earlier, I am the General Manager of Community Services. The areas that I'm responsible for include planning, building and property standards, economic development and tourism, golf operations, the Sanderson Center here in town, as well as Parks and Recreation. So I have a broad range of responsibilities. Planning and the building department are probably two best related to what we're talking about today. I've been with the city, actually, I think it's 24 years ago today I started. So it's kind of ironic that I'm speaking today. But for the first 17 years, I was in the planning department as a planner. And that experience is kind of part of what I'm going to talk a little bit about today. Because brownfields in this community and the redevelopment of brownfields is not something new. Back 10 and 15 years ago, we had, I'll call them semi-quasi brownfields, or the conversion of industrial land to residential land happening on a number of occasions. And I've got, I believe, 4 examples I'll talk about. The first one is for people that know the city down at Morel and Grand River Avenue. Michael Quattrocchi did a development down there where he converted an industrial site into residential, single-family homes. A second site in the same general area, Grand River Avenue, it's the old Solar Ray property, which was developed by Dalip Multani here in town. That was a conversion of an old industrial factory into single-family homes as well. Mr. Multani also did another project on Marlborough Street where they converted a factory, which was the old Innova Envelope property, and made it into a condominium as well as some semi-detached dwellings there. And the last one that I remember back that long ago was done by Mr. Zavarella, which was on Consul Road, which was just off of King George Road. It was an old transportation terminal that was converted into single-family homes. So there is a long history of conversion of industrial or brownfield lands into residential in this community. But way back then, as I'm going back 10 or 15 years ago, I think most of us would probably characterize it as being easier, simpler, and faster. Development was a much different environment in which we worked in back then. It was an interesting time to be working. Things got through the municipality rather quickly, but things have changed. The regulatory environment that we live in now is very, very different. It requires more documentation. It requires more public consultation, both of which require greater transparency and communication. So to say it's longer is probably an understatement. But we both as staff at the city and you in the development industry have to adapt to those new parameters in which we have to work. And we have to accommodate those new regulatory framework that we have to deal in. Brownfields is an opportunity, as I said earlier, for everybody to work. And if you are interested in a brownfield site in the community here in Brantford, come and talk to us. We have staff that will be able to answer questions related to brownfields. We are willing to work. There's the Brownfield Committee that's available as well. Many of the city councilors also are very active in brownfield development, particularly Councilor Marguerite Chesky-Smith. City Strategic Plan also talks about brownfield sites. We want to be a leader in infill development and brownfield development in this community. So getting involved in brownfield redevelopment doesn't just mean going forward and developing a site. One of the things that you can do, particularly when we start talking about the sites I think you may have talked about earlier, the Sydenham Pearl and the Greenwich Mohawk site, is the ability to go and talk to and participate in the public meetings that will take place when they start to develop the neighborhood concept plans for it or the development plans for it. And by going there and communicating with the public and the consultants that are there, it doesn't mean that you're going there just to tell them what you think should happen. I think a really big component of it is listening to the people in the area in terms of what they would like to see. You bring experience to the table because you've done development maybe in this municipality, maybe in others, which they may not know about and may not realize and may contribute to an answer to the neighborhood concept plans that are developed there. But also listening to the public becomes very, very important, because if you're interested in developing that site going forward, understanding where the neighborhood comes from is very, very important in terms of getting to a successful outcome. Earlier we heard things talked about OMB hearings and objections. Getting through that is essential when you deal with a regulatory framework where it can take a long time to get records of site condition and the like. So you might want to consider talking to the residents, and as I said earlier, communication is not just about speaking or talking, it's also about listening. One of the things you're going to hear about shortly is the Brantford Financial Tax Incentive Program, or BIF-TIP. It's a tool that is available now that was not available back when those earlier projects I talked about 10 and 15 years ago took place. This program is really important and something you may want to consider participating in if you're going forward with a brownfield redevelopment site. As I said, I'm going to be really short because I know there's other things you want to talk about, but in conclusion, one of the things I want to mention is that the redevelopment of brownfield sites in this community is a priority of City Council. That's very, very essential in terms of where you want to go in terms of development in this community. There are a number of brownfield sites available. Greenwich Mohawk and Sydenham Pearl are just two. There are a number that you may want to participate or even investigate in. Staff are available and willing to talk to you to meet your development objectives for the sites that you might be taking a look at. So it's very important. And it's also important to take advantage of tools such as the BIF-TIP program to help you develop your plans. So I strongly, seriously hope that you would consider the development or redevelopment of brownfield sites in the city. It is an opportunity that's there that you should consider, and something that is really important to the community. Once again, thank you for attending today, and staff are available at any time, whether the staff here, including Tara, as well as myself, to talk to you about brownfield redevelopment, or any of the tools that we have in place to assist you in moving forward. Thank you very much.